You have seen how a man was made a slave. You shall now see how a slave was made a man. I was carrying a very heavy sack of wheat one day when out of nowhere, out of the shadows, the overseer Covey attacked me. "I'll teach you about being lazy." He struck me about the head several times. I don't know what came over me at that moment, but I resolved to resist my attacker. My resistance was totally unexpected. Covey was taken aback. I grabbed him, he grabbed me. We tussled. The tussling went on for 2 hours. I was only a boy. Finally, with Covey on the ground, standing over him looking up at me, his very words, "Have you had enough?" "Yes," I said. "I've had enough." This fight was a turning point in my life as a slave. My long-crushed spirit arose. Cowardice departed, and bold defiance took its place. And I resolved that however long I might remain a slave in form, the day had ended forever that I could be a slave in fact. I did not hesitate to let it be known of me that the overseer who expected to succeed in whipping me must also succeed in killing me. On the 1st of January, 1834, I left Mr. Covey and went to live with a Mr. William Freeland. Mr. Freeland was himself the owner of but 2 slaves. Their names were Henry Harris and John Harris. Henry and John were quite intelligent, and in a very little while after I went there, I succeeded in creating in them a strong desire to learn to read. This desire soon sprang up in others also, and they very soon mustered up some old spelling books, and nothing would do but that I would keep a Sabbath school. I agreed to do so, and accordingly devoted my Sundays to teaching these, my loved fellow slaves, how to read. I will give Mr. Freeland the credit of being the best master I ever had. That is, until I became my own master. At the close of the year 1834, Mr. Freeland again hired me out. I therefore resolved that the year 1835 should not pass without witnessing some attempt on my part to secure my liberty. But I was not willing to cherish this determination alone. My fellow slaves were dear to me. I was anxious to have them participate with me in this, my life-giving determination. Now I come to that part of my narrative in which I planned and finally succeeded in making my escape from slavery. But before narrating any of the particulars of the circumstances, I deem it necessary to make known my intention to state only certain facts connected with the transaction. My reason for pursuing this may be understood from the following. First, were I to give a minute statement of all the facts, it is not only possible, but quite probable that such statements would undoubtedly induce greater vigilance on the part of slaveholders than had existed before among them. According to my resolution, on the 3rd day of September, 1838, I left my chains and succeeded in reaching New York with the slightest interruption of any kind. How I did so, by what means I adopted, by what direction I traveled, and by what means of conveyance I must leave unexplained. In closing, my sincere and earnest hope is that this little book may do something about throwing light on the slave system in America and hastening the glad day of delivering the millions of my brethren in bonds, faithfully relying upon the power of truth, love, and justice. For success in my humble endeavor, I solemnly pledge myself anew to this sacred cause. I subscribe myself, Frederick Douglass, Lynn, Massachusetts, 1845.
Go out telling these powerful stories, living truth, love, and justice all the journey long. As you go, go with God, and God will go with you.